Shalom, Nasrallah. It's your brother, Darasimach, and I'm back with another lesson. The spirit and power of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakodash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for bringing out this truth, and shalom to the whole full elect, which includes 144,000 and rest select that scattered around the world, including those speckled bird Israelites who may look like the other nations, but are not. This is not a black thing. The Israelites were scattered around the world and mingled with all of these nations, and they look like these nations. Okay, so it's not a skin color doctrine. So this one goes out to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. This is Matthew chapter 5, and this is part 6. If you're on YouTube, it's a whole different thing if you're on TikTok, that I break them up into smaller pieces. So let's jump right into it. It's Matthew chapter 5 in verse 31, and it says, "It had been said, whosoever shall no, that's not the right one. I'm at verse 27. Salakia. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery." And that them of old time, okay, he's talking about back in the time of Moses, because that's when it initially came from, okay? Their forefathers, all right? Well, ultimately the law came from the Heavenly Father, but you get what I'm trying to say. So what is adultery? Okay? Adultery is basically sleeping with another man's wife, okay? That's like the core definition of adultery, all right? So let's go to Exodus chapter 20, and you'll see it here, okay? From old time in Exodus, chapter 20 in verse 14, "Thou shalt not commit adultery." Okay, now adultery is a sin unto death. Okay, so the penalty of that is for death. All right. Now, let's go back to Matthew chapter 5 and verse 28. And it says, "But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart." And this is where a lot of Christians get confused. They be like, "Oh, lust is bad," and stuff like that. It's not about lust being bad. It's about who you're lusting after, okay? Going into coveting, all right? So what should also go back to what was in the Ten Commandments, okay? Yahushua just expounded on it to, explain it to the people, all right? So in order to have attraction for somebody, you would lust after them, okay? Like, how else would you even, get to the point where you're dating a woman, okay? You look at a woman that's pretty, you're going to desire her. That's lust. That's normal, okay? That's human nature. But the thing is, not to be sitting there lusting after a married woman, because that is committing adultery with that woman in your heart, okay? And you're coveting after something that is your neighbor's, as we see in Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20, in verse 17, it says, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house." So anything that's thy neighbor's possession, that's his. Okay, you're not supposed to be like, "Oh, I want that for mine. That should be mine. Why he got it?" "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife," because his wife is his. That's his possession. Yes, a woman is a possession, first to her father and then to her husband. I don't care if you don't like it. That's what it is. That's the way you were made. "Nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's." And that's what that's going back to. Okay? It's not saying that you can't look at pretty women and, and desire them. It's saying that you can't look at a married woman and desire her. Okay? Even though, you don't know who's married all the time and stuff like that. But, things were simpler back in those days. Now we live in Babylon. Babal goes back to Babal, which is confusion. So everything is confusion here. Sometimes you quick glance, you don't know if that's a man or a woman you're looking at, because, all the wickedness and witchcraft they got going on here in Babylon the Great. So let's go to the book of Sirach. Let's actually go to verse 30, chapter 36, verse 24. And it says, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession. Okay? Beginneth a possession. That's what a wife is. The possession of her husband. Now, this doesn't go vice versa. The husband isn't her possession. She is the possession, the property of her husband. Okay? That's how that goes. A help like unto himself and a pillar of rest. That woman is the helpmeet unto him. Okay? It's supposed to be a pillar of rest. Somewhere that that man could go for comfort. Right? But you don't really find women like that these days. Okay? Now let's go back to Sirach chapter 9. So Sirach chapter 9 and verse 9. And it tells you, okay? So it's kind of giving you a warning on the same lines of what Yahushua was saying about lusting after another man's wife. Okay? And it says, sit not at all with another man's wife, nor sit down with her in thine arms. Okay? Now, when you read that part, you be like, oh, yeah, that's, that's wild. And spend not thy money with her at the wine, lest thine heart incline unto her, and so through thy desire, thou fall into destruction. And what destruction is talking about? Committing adultery with her. Okay? Doing the deed. Okay? But it all, it all starts in your mind and your thoughts. Okay? So you prevent that by, staying away from this woman. Okay? You don't go sit down and, let's go have a dinner. Let's go have a drink with her. Don't be holding all on you in the other man's wife. Like, come on. That's common sense. What you think that's going to lead to? Okay? Now let's go to the book of Proverbs. So this is Proverbs chapter 6, verse 32. And it says, but whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. Okay? He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. Okay? Because you know that you're destroying yourself. Like you don't have the understanding then. All right? You think about it that way. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away. All right? Now things are flipped all upside down in this society. Adultery is pushed in American culture. Okay? That's pretty much a topic for another day. But verse 34, for jealousy is the rage of a man. Therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. So what you gonna give a man and you done took his wife and defiled her? Like how you gonna pacify her? That man come home, catch you in the bed with his woman? Man, buddy about to rage out, man. Oftentimes you see how, people be in America, they end up, killing the man, and then the man oftentimes end up, murking himself. But they leave the woman there just fine, which is kind of crazy. She got to go too. She got to get that judgment, according to the scriptures. So, I don't know. What will be happening with Jake? Well, it's not just Jake. It's all these people. But verse 35, he will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, though thou may givest many gifts. Because what can you give him for his prized possession, his woman? All right? The glory of the man is the woman. All right? Men love women. Women don't really love men that much. Okay? It's rare. Okay? Now, let's go to Matthew chapter 5 once again. Verse 29. And it says, and if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. Now, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago or something like that. Okay? So it's not talking about physically taking your eye out, man. So don't nobody go do that. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that the whole body should be cast into hell. All right, so it's not telling you to go maim yourself. Okay, let's keep reading. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. Okay, so what is this going into? All right, so the church, okay, the believers, they're one body. All right. I remember something about Paul talking about he had delivered somebody over to Satan, okay, because they were going off. All right. So when people go off, they got the steps that you got to go through. You got to go talk to them and tell them, hey, you're going off. They don't receive it. You take them before the church or the elders, and then if they don't, then you just treat them like a infidel, like a non-believer. All right. And so you cut them off because you leave that corruption in, it grows and it spreads to other people. Okay? So you're supposed to cut them off. All right? Unless the whole body get corrupted. And the whole body, ends up in hell, or how we would, describe it, the thermonuclear destruction. Okay? Because there's no place where you go and burn forever, like how the Christian church teaches. All right? So, let's see. Let's go to 1 Corinthians and just read through this. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, starting off at verse 12. And it says, "For as the body is one and hath many members, and all members of that one body being many, or one body, so also is Hamashiach. For by one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles." Okay? Now, when I say Jews, talking about those Israelites who knew who they were. They remember their heritage. Gentiles, talking about Israelites who forgot who they were and lost their heritage. Whether we be bond or free, okay, talking about slave or free man, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit. So to become one. Okay, so we're supposed to be unified. One body, one baptism. All right, one doctrine. All right. So we have that same mind. John chapter 17. You know how Yahushua was saying that he's one with his Father because, him and his Father on the same page. That's how we are supposed to be as a church. For the body is not one member, but many. Okay? And so how he was saying, should the whole body be cast into hell for one member? No. Okay? That's what that's going into. So verse 15, if the foot shall say, because I am not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? No. I mean, you need your parts. You need your foot. Okay? It plays an important role. The foot can't really do what the hand do. Yeah, I know they got some people who can eat and do stuff with their feet, but that's rare. Okay? And if the ear shall say, because I am not the eye, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? No, you need your ears. They have their own separate role. The eyes have a role. Okay? And if the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? Exactly. You need these different parts to function correctly. If the whole were hearing, where were the smelling? But now hath power set the members, every one of them in the body, as it hath pleased him. Okay? So everybody got a different role. Okay? Some apostles, some teachers, some prophets, some helpers. Everybody got something that they're good at, something that they could do. Okay? And if they were all one body, where were the body? And if they were all one member, where were the body? Slakia. But now are there many members, yet but one body. And the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of thee, nor again to the head, to the feet, I have no need of thee. Okay? Nay, much more those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary, and whose members of the body which we think to be less honorable, but these we bestow more abundant honor, and our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness. For our comely parts have no need, but power hath tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to that part which lacketh. Okay, and you could think about, you use your imagination, which part would be comely and what part would be uncomely. So we don't have to go into that. All right. And that there should be no schism in the body, because we all should be one on the same page. Okay. But that the members should have the same care one for another, that brotherly love. All right. And whether one member suffer, all the members suffer with it. Or one member be honored, all the members rejoice with it. So I'm going to end it right there, and I'll pick back up with part 7. So, Shalom, Yasharallah.